Arthaus. Aha. Okay, so I have to have the Discord up. Okay. Makes sense, makes sense.
A lot of people are coming in.
Let's get it. Let's get it. Ooh, we got quite a bit of viewers in here. It's pretty freaking good. It's pretty freaking good. And then,
Whoa, whoa. People are rolling in.
yeah, bro, this is ridiculous.
I haven't done a podcast in 2 years, so it's gonna be rusty, but it's gonna be good.
Dude, I'm my like. Here's the thing. People have said I ask good questions, but I play it back, and I'm just like, bro, I need to speak better.
I
I'll
mean,
have this thought come
that's
out, and then and then I'll realize I'll end it. I'll have stated enough information. It'll be sufficient, and then I'll just keep going. I'll keep going, and I'll realize like, fuck, stop, just stop, just stop.
I mean, that's the beauty of making video content. Like every time I made a video, I'd try to improve like one thing, and then 70 videos later, you're almost totally different at articulating your point.
Definitely, definitely. It's honestly ridiculous. Just you think like sitting in front of a camera and talking won't be hard at all, but you do it and you're like, damn, my entire way of thinking has changed because I'm looking at this little lens.
Oh yeah, like when we watch videos before we become content creators, we are like, oh, I could do that better. Or, oh, it's probably so easy. And then the second you turn on the camera, you're like, just like choking all over your.
Yeah, it's definitely not chill. Okay, let's see. Hey, we got Nate Schmidt inside. All right,
The one and only.
I think this is good. I think this is good. All right, so this is Arthaus. Today we have UseXP. He's a YouTuber. He's a writer. He's one to try to break reality with his thoughts, with his creations, and he's going to talk to us today about broadly breaking the chains of reality, but also like how you can heal yourself and do the inner work to when you break free, you'll still have a foundation to stand on instead of just falling into nothingness when you remove yourself from the matrix or the simulation or, the control system, whatever you want to call it. So, how you doing?
Doing well. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
So, just starting out, like what does the term breaking the chains of reality mean to you?
Honestly, it's just kind of it's like a clickbait way of presenting an opportunity to just think differently. Like the thing is, like you really do get clickbait people. Like I used to be pissed off about clickbait. Not pissed off, but like I thought it was tacky like a year or two ago.
Yeah.
I mean, you gotta do it as classy of a way as you possibly can if you want to lead people towards positive information.
Mhm. Yeah, you need to pace and lead people effectively.
Yeah, like, thing that has been on my mind a lot recently is you want to have like imagine two graph progress. You want to have a good marriage of marketing and product because you could have the greatest product in the world or you could be the coolest person in the world. But
Yeah.
if you're unable to articulate that and get people to understand that, you might as well not even exist.
My friend Pat Stedman, he's a dating and relationship coach. His philosophy on how you develop yourself, it's there's three factors. There's what is it? Your pre-selection, your persona, and your personality. And your pre-selection's like, your flashy advertising. Your persona is kind of like, like a bit more in depth, but it's more just like it's still superficial. And then your personality is your really deep, your true self, and that's your product. And if you have a great product but you don't know how to market it, nobody's going to care. Nobody's going to matter. And in this digital age, you need to get attention. And even if your ideas are the greatest ideas of all time and will change your life, if they're not marketed properly, that's totally on you. That's your fault.
Well, a big part of a lot of the first initial articles that I've come out with is because I myself had experienced it. It's disappointing to see guys and girls who have good product. They are a good product as a person, or whatever it is they're trying to put into the world as a good product. But because of maybe past rejections or circumstance or environment, they have this sort of illusion and they kind of sell themselves short and don't really have the marketing to match how good they are. Then they're kind of reflected back all the negative rejections, which can affect our self.
Definitely. And I think a part of it too, at least on my end, I'm starting to get my groove a bit more on this. But a lot of like the marketing books and stuff, like the actual the sales text and whatnot, it doesn't it like the tactics, they feel very constrictive. It's like it's a weird way of thinking, and it doesn't feel natural for a lot of people. And so when they try it and they fail, or they don't try to adapt it to their own personality, they don't try to just take the essence of it when they're trying to just focus on doing the right tactic, the right time, every time in this like super structured, ordered way. That's where the burnout comes from, and that's where the just like fuck this feeling comes from when you just want to drop it completely.
Well, you bring up a really good point because when we're at, because I think that the way I see it is there's sort of three levels. I like to say like there's the no results, then there's results, and the highest level is success. So when you're at a place of no results, you're obviously looking for like the fastest way to like get some results.
Hmm.
Ultimately, you're going to go on YouTube, wherever you go for information, even asking friends, and you're going to get information, aka like strategies, tactics, and methods
Hmm.
to implement that way you could start getting results. But added or methods and strategies, it's implementing the successful person. Like a sales strategy is implementing the behaviors of what a successful person would already do. Like, for example, if you had 40 clients and you go into a meeting to meet with your 41st, you're obviously not going to be taking it too seriously. You're going to be totally cool with walking away. So sales scripts sort of try to emulate that behavior so that you can get the results before you really have any results. It
Yeah.
kind of is like a way to give you confidence before you have confidence. But like you were saying, you can kind of get lost in the sauce and feel
Yeah.
lots of variables and strategies.
And honestly, one of the key things right there, this made me think of this, is getting results quickly and early, even if they're small, is so big. And whatever you're doing, if you're trying to convince people, if you're trying to sell something, if you're trying to get a certain number of pull-ups in or something like that, getting the small wins are so key, because that's the stuff that will keep you moving forward. And if you're building if you're conceptualizing your issues in a way where you'll never make small progress, small progress won't be considered a win to you. Only the big, huge steps are. Then it's gonna be a lot harder for you to actually make progress in the long run.
Absolutely. That's actually something I was writing about earlier today. It's one of the it's of a book I'm working on. I don't want to say the title yet because I haven't
Shh, keep it
decided
silent.
the
Keep it
title,
silent.
but keep it secret. But you're saying actually has a lot of energetic value. Like for example, if you say you want to do something and you spark all this belief in yourself, you're kind of taking a loan on your future self. So you're getting emotions, taking a
Mm,
loan from your future self. But if you don't get any small wins, you don't take any action, the behavior doesn't match the belief. So it kind of just decays. Like every day with your energy, your hours, you are either making deposits or withdrawals. You make a
mm.
lot of withdrawals for a long time. You either end up in debt, you end up overweight, or if you're making the deposits, you're getting more in shape, you're getting more money, whatever it is you're striving.
Right. And I saw a tweet yesterday that made me that it was very parallel. I think it was done by this Dean Abbott.
No, I do not.
See, I don't follow him, but every time I see one of his tweets pop in my feed, I'm like, that's amazing. That's incredible. He said, like, it was, I'm paraphrasing this, so it's not going to be 100%, but basically every single time you're encountered with an issue that, where you could take either the path of the truth or you take the path of the lie, right? Every time you're either gaining something or you're getting into debt based on the lie. And if people are trying to help you constantly, and you keep denying their, denying their help. You keep denying opportunities. You keep denying just the truth, like what you need to be doing. Then eventually your debt's going to get so big to where those opportunities are going to come less, and then also you're not, in terms of like recognizing them, you're not going to be recognizing anything as an opportunity, and eventually you're just going to be wallowing under years and years and years of taking the lying path of not being courageous and not, striking forth in the world and getting stuff done.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite topics. I like to kind of call it honest confrontation beats dishonest harmony. Like for example, if you're the composer and there's one player in your orchestra that's bad, if you don't want to tell him he's bad because it's going to hurt his feelings, but the longer you avoid the honest confrontation, he's going to get worse and worse and worse, and then eventually it's going to be so loud and unbearable, the
Yeah,
whole orchestra is ruined.
yeah, and
The
then it's gonna build up
the
resentment.
honest confront yeah, yeah, it's gonna build up resentment. And what I'm trying to say is like the honest confrontation is like going to the gym or doing what you said at work.
Yeah,
Otherwise, you're then entertaining a dishonest harmony of I don't really need to do it today, or
yeah,
I can like do it another day. And then eventually the orchestra becomes unbearable.
yeah. It's better to suffer a few painful truths early than deal with comforting lies that just get drawn out and drawn out and drawn out, because then everything gets out of sync, and then when the crash happens, it happens bad, way worse than if you just got it out of the way early.
Yeah, you can either proactively pick your own little small challenges every day, or that energy of the withdrawals, like we were talking about earlier, it's going to compound and compound, and then boom, one day you're able to make a withdrawal. You're going to be horribly, uncomfortably unfit or unhealthy, or you're just going to be in so much debt. It's going to be terrible. So either you proactively can pick the little challenges that inspire you every day, or eventually life is going to slap you with a gigantic challenge. But either way, time is moving, things are changing, and either you're adapting to the seasons or life is going to force you to it.
That's a very key mindset shift right there, is thinking in terms of proactivity rather than reactivity, right? When you think when you design your whole life to be everything is on me and everything I do is going to get me results one way or another, that is a much more empowering, enticing, and energizing way of life than waiting for the stuff to happen. Going through the motions, hoping. You can do all the law of attraction stuff you want, but if you're not being proactive with it, it's going to mean absolutely nothing.
Yeah, it's sort of just like a fact that we can use to, I don't even know if I want to say scare ourselves. Either, I mean, it's like a haunted house. Like, either you can pick the little thing to scare you right now, or you're just going to go into the unknown and get slapped with whatever it chooses to slap you with.
Now, you wrote this. I see you have a new article up called "Navigating Reality." What's the gist with that? Because in overall too, you've been writing a lot on your. Is this your new website overall?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
wanted to have a place to publicly share what I was already writing in private.
Well, yeah. I mean, I've really been enjoying your content right now. You have nice, thick, long articles that aren't those like, those paragraphs. You know how like sales emails are written where it's like sentence, sentence, sentence. There's no like
Oh, yeah.
paragraphs where people like actually bringing out thoughts. It's all just to get to the next line.
Yep.
Yeah, I like the fact that you actually write with paragraphs and whatnot. So they're good reads. Yeah, navigating rally. What's the whole gist with this?
I try to take some of my favorite words and kind of put them into strategies or principles that you can sort of just help to see where you stand. Like, for example, to give you one of them, just the word interpretation.
Hmm.
That one can change your whole day, your whole life, what you do. For example, if they're doing construction outside
Hmm.
and I have to take my car to another parking lot, one interpretation is this is bullshit. I have to go like half a mile. Fuck this. These guys are just annoying. It's true. It is true. But also, there's another true interpretation. It could be, man, these guys are fixing the sidewalks and the streets, and I don't even have to do anything. They're doing it all for free for me, and I'm getting like a little bit of exercise walking like half a mile. Both are true, but what's an optimal interpretation?
Mm.
So interpretation, and orienting your interpretations for the optimal, because both things are true. You can honestly argue being a good person and being a bad person both have pros and cons, but that's one of the ones in life that are just kind of more obvious to us, so we make the right choice. But interpretation for optimal is one of the like things on the compass checklist.
Reframing reframing yourself to problems, making problems challenges. That's a very powerful shift in the mind that you can make. When did you start this whole sort of, I don't like I'll say process, but just like when did you just start flirting with these ways of thinking and these like ways of looking at the world and peeling behind the mask a bit?
Yeah, I think it was just like the past 6 years of businesses and relationships and social circle, just every area of life that you could possibly seek to improve in, also like health and fitness.
Mm-hmm.
There were so many failures in all of those areas, and along the way, analysis was made, experiments were done, and then it just compounds over time, and then you just have these thick observations.
Yeah. So, I mean, honestly, an underlying principle right there is the writing, right? How has writing been beneficial in your whole growth process? Just not even like posting and getting the clicks and whatnot. Just like the act of physically writing stuff on paper and getting thoughts out.
Yeah, well, it wasn't perfect from day one. Like, I think a lot of us hear people recommend, like, oh, you should write. It's kind of confusing. Like, oh, should I write a diary? Is it just an emotional vomit on paper? Like, what's the purpose here? But you kind of refine your own personal strategy as you go along. One of the best ways is like, let's say you make a decision of a habit to go to the, and you can journal the critical moment. So if you just didn't end up going to the gym that day, record the critical moment of like what excuse you, and then write a pre-planned response next time. Then it happens. Let's say it happens again. You came up with a different excuse. You're kind of journaling what responses you'd like to show up with, and you're already showing yourself what you need to use as an excuse. It's
Mm.
kind of one example to like speed up the growth process.
Mm. And I could say that can be really really useful when it comes to even just like well after you're done writing, just reframing your thinking in a permanent manner. Like if you can write out your arguments, then those arguments get ingrained in your mind, and then every single time some weakness comes up, you just have those, boom, done. No, it's not an
Yeah,
issue. It just
yeah,
instantly just no, done. Here's the counter, done. We're doing it.
yeah. It's a planned response, because we all like, we know our body has limited endurance and stamina, but we don't really treat the mind the same, even though it is the same way. So every time you have to make a decision, you are burning energy. So if you're making millions of tiny little decisions every, well, not millions, like 50,000 little decisions every day,
Yeah.
the quality is going to deteriorate just like your muscles would on a run. So if you have a pre-planned response, like, say I'm going to the gym, this is what the excuses that usually show up are. This is going to be the response where I tell myself to go forward. And
Yeah, it's a much more beneficial way of looking at reality. I also find too that when you first start writing, it's not going to be good, and a lot of people stop because they think that they're going to start writing and all these like genius ideas that they have are going to throw up. No, when you first start writing, it's going to be horrible.
oh yeah, I mean, that's with everything, man. Like, you just have to be willing to look stupid and go through the cringe period on
Like, do,
anything.
do
Like,
you
even
do
when
you
I was
remember
playing
your first?
soccer.
Have you ever like flipped back into a really old notebook and read what you wrote and you're like, holy, what the hell?
Oh my god, yeah. I mean, it's cringe, but at the same time, it like makes you appreciate how far you.
Oh, that's the other best point that it's right there. It's physical proof of growth, and it's growth is usually intangible unless you take the action to record it down.
I mean, yeah, and I mean, even beyond the journals, like, for example, if you have pictures of yourself years ago before you started working out, or I don't know, maybe I'm the only one guilty of this, but scrolling back through like old text messages you were sending back when you were like dating like 5 years ago, and be like, oh my God, did I actually say that? Like, did I think that would work? And like, type of, when you have the visual evidence, it helps you really
Bro,
appreciate how far you've come.
I went back into my old Facebook messages when I was like messaging girls in seventh grade, and I'm just like, all right.
You're just
Good.
wondering like what you were thinking.
Yeah, like you bring yourself back in that frame of mind. You're like, how many levels of wrong was I on? Like, everything was wrong.
Yeah, yeah, but it makes you like also appreciate like if that didn't happen, you wouldn't have had any reason to improve or get better.
Yeah, it's like it's looking back in history and you see, well, like you hear all the time that like your life is a series of choices or whatever, and it's cool when you find an old memory, you find a like we are talking about like a text message or something like that. You find that, and you kind of can like trace back really quickly in your mind, like what are all the decisions that came from that? Oh, because I asked her out. I got more confident with with girls in that sense. I got meet this new group of friends. Blah 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 blah. Boom, and it all compounds, and you realize that your life today is built on this foundation of bravery that you've amassed over the past couple, your entire life basically.
Yeah, and I like your choice of bravery and how it kind of like ties along with courage. The more decisions you make, the more feedback you get, and then ultimately the more wisdom you collect. But the more timid you are, the less decisions you may be behind. So someone who's made a lot of uncomfortable decisions at age 23 could be way wiser and smarter and ahead in life than someone who's like 40 if he's been very with his decisions, making one bold every year versus a guy making a bold move like every week.
Yeah, exactly, and I mean that's why we've seen kind of this rise. I think this is why we've seen this rise in like lax older men that don't really care about giving out the wisdom, or they don't really like go out of the way to embody a teacher king role in a sense for the young people. They're just content with their comfort, and they've been in their comfort for so long that any lessons or value that they have is mostly null.
Yeah, I mean, I like looking everywhere I can to get clues of like things that are just optimal. I mean, we can see from nature that time is always flowing. Leaves come, leaves go. Snakes and different animals, they sort of shed their skin every so often because they need a new layer. Even us humans, every 7 years or something, we like get new skin. So, I mean, staying the same just by looking at nature, I mean, it is going to get very uncomfortable and diseases will form.
It's really
Diseases of the mind and the body.
it's interesting because I forgot where I read this, but like we're not the same person that you were even yesterday. Like your whole biology has reformed, cells have died, new things have come in. Like you're always constantly changing, and the only reason that people can recognize you is because of memories that they've had with you in the past, and they can obviously do basic deduction from there. But like in terms of your biology, in terms of who you are, between 10 years, if you're living right and you're going to new experiences and whatnot, there's no connection between those two people. Two completely
Oh,
different people.
yeah. Yeah, totally different. It kind of on what we said earlier, proactive and reactive. And I like how you said it, like every day you're not the same person as yesterday. But by default, we really like, let's say you're sitting there in the present moment about to make a decision. Typically, we default to the past, which is reactive, just saying what we've already done.
Hmm.
But in the present moment, you can also make a decision based on the future. Instead of replaying, you're actually creating and playing how you want to be. So you can either make your decision based on who you think you are from the past or who you think you are from the future. And that's why each present moment is like a life.
Exactly. And a lot of us just don't live in the present. We don't live where we can, effectively kind of break down time in that way and see that, well, it's all choices. It's all choices. It's all a real time strategy game that's going on constantly.
Yeah, and I think we gravitate towards bad decisions, as you just said, because by default, we're not really living in the present moment because we sort of are conditioned in like an escapism culture, like, oh, here's TV, here's an energy drink, here's food, here's this, here's that,
Yeah.
and to escape, sort of just chilling in the moment. And then as you poor decisions and they compound, and then you're just sitting there as yourself experiencing a person who's compounded from poor decisions is uncomfortable. So the default is to kind of just to seek and escape.
So one thing I wrote this down a while ago, and that I think that like obviously there's a lot of nuance to this. So this is just kind of a quote that encapsulates most of it. But I think when people talk about God and people talk about the divine and whatnot, like the divine, like getting closer to the divine is it's subduing the animal inside, right? Basically, like we have our animal side, and we have our, like our higher self side in a sense. And obviously, what I mean by subdue is not eliminate because and not recognize, but actively wrangle and like assert yourself over that side, because you are not ruled by your desires. You are not ruled by biological whims, by smells, by all this stuff. You're not ruled by that. Those are inputs coming in, and you have to take absolute control over that and determine which ones you're going to go towards.
Yeah, totally. I mean, that was actually exactly what I thought about in the last thread about like the whole aliens thing. But what you were saying is totally true. Either like our animal mind is just one half of it. It doesn't mean we have to associate with it. Like as thoughts come in. Also, I feel like a lot of people use the word control or wrangle or manage, and I think in the one way, yes, it is. But at the same time, you can't control your emotions. You can your reaction to the emotions. They're still going to come. They're still going to flow. But as they're flowing, you could decide to attach to it or not attach to it.
Hmm.
And then you can attach with, as you were saying, more so the creative side instead of the animal side, and then
Right.
see how that ends up for you.
Right. And like I said, the key part there is not to eliminate the animal side, because it's going to be there whether you want it or not. And just shielding yourself from it will just make you weak and make you completely, like it's like the Jungian shadow in a sense, right? If you don't know what's there, if you don't think that you can be a monster, then you're gonna unintentionally be a monster to way more people than if you knew yourself.
Right. Yeah, totally. With the whole awareness. I think that's also why bad habits, like there's that controversy. You just delete one, you have to replace it with something. That habit's not just there for no reason. The reason you're drawn toward it is because it's filling some sort of void. So if you just delete it,
Hmm.
it's not really possible. You need to pick something else to fill that void. Like, for example, eating junk food. Like you're doing it for stimulation or for a sense of fulfillment. You need to find something else to replace it. Otherwise, you're always going to gravitate towards the back habit or the
Yeah.
bad habit.
Breaking down the programming and replacing the programming with your own programming. It's all programming. It's all programming. Use. It's been a great chat with you. Do you have anything you'd like to say before we have to hop off this Arthouse episode?
Um, I don't know, man. Everyone's on their journey. We may cross paths. Everyone be happy, chill. I don't know. Just have a good day, I guess. Nothing to plug, nothing to promote, nothing to sell.
So, okay, how about this? How about this? What if some young guy just came up to you and is like, "Use, what do I do right now? I'm out of high school. What do I do?" Right? Can go any which direction. What would you? Well, you get down on your one little knee, and little Billy's looking up at you. What do you say?
All right. This is a good topic, and I'm actually going to make an article on it soon. I think it's going to be titled like "What to Do When You Don't Know What to Do," but in like a very short form.
Hmm.
You're going to feel impulses towards things that you like. Like, for example, and here's the annoying part, like how we earlier, you're going to deal with some cringe before you get to the good stuff.
Yeah.
Even desires are going to be cringe. Like what I wanted 6 years ago, oh, Lamborghini and all this crazy stuff. I mean, that stuff is still sick. It's amazing. It's going to be a great experience, but your desires are also going to change. So what's good? What I'm saying is the things that you're attracted to, you're going to go after them. You're probably going to fail. You're going to learn more about yourself, and you're going to learn more about the thing that you were trying to do. And it's in acting on not the impulses, but the inspirations. Acting on the inspiration closer to understanding your skills, your weaknesses, who you, and the things that you actually really want to do and align with. So really having like a heavy action orientation towards the things that inspire you, because that's ultimately going to lead you to where you.
And I'll say this too: you can't help what inspires you. What inspires you just does. So, you know, you might be like, you might be very intellectual and very like philosophical in a sense, and you're like, why do I want this Lamborghini? Why do I still? But like, don't question yourself, right? If that motivates you, then make that your goal, right? Make that your goal. Don't shy away from what actually motivates you. But the thing is, like, by the time you get that goal, you probably won't even care that much about the car. You'll have learned so much about yourself. You'll have done so much inner work that you got up and you did something, and at the end of the day, if you did it, then the reason doesn't really matter if it's about if it's in this way, because you're always moving forward, regardless if the goal is world peace or if the goal is I want some spinning rims, right? If you did the same action, then what does it matter?
Yeah, and it all starts with what we were saying, acting on an inspiration, because the etymology means like the root of the words and their origins. Etymology of inspiration comes from the word in spirit, to be at one with spirit, or to be at one with like creation, to be at one with God, universe, whatever term you want to use.
Yeah.
And the word genius comes from the root of genie, which means to like make wishes into reality. So genius, the root of that word, to like make wishes come into reality. The root of the word inspiration is have one with spirits, or whatever, however you want to call it. Yeah.
Yeah, man. That's a beautiful way of putting at it. Really, that etymology will open up many doors for you, just in general. Just that's a little tip from me. So, this is Arthaus with Yous. We had a great conversation, and we will see you guys tomorrow with Roman McClay, author of Sanction. Talk to you guys later. Boom. Done. Cool.
That was a good one.
Yeah. That is.